South Boyd, I'm North Boyd, so. Either way. I was thinking, but I caught it.
Jerry Drew, mayor of the South Boyd.
Sean Parks, Lake County Commissioner. The Great Board State Rep. Re-elected. The Great Board. I'm John Terrell. I said that because I figured that would be the only way I could give him calls. I'm John Terrell, Wingard Construction Road.
And then we'll go with the audience too. Right over here.
Vance Yoakum with Fiscal Rangers. I'm a blog writer.
Amy Martello with the City of Winter Garden. Myra Monreal with Myra Planning and Design.
John Weiss with the Road Management Department of Lake County. Avi Olszewski, Winter Garden Commission.
Jeff McNeil, VSD.
Flex Beach, design. Andre Anderson, Planning Design Group.
Transportation engineer.
Mike Holbrook, or Jose Quintero from Air Holdings.
Both right in the city of Clark.
Very good day, City, for them.
Scott Lancaster, Lake County.
Bruce Ayo, Little John Engineering Associates.
Brett Lacey, Little Dog Engineering. Doug Bott, for the morning.
Ray Goey, Health Central.
Laura Swanson, I'm in transition with a home builder, Google.
Jimmy Dunn, Junior Engineer.
Angel Local Tia Center for the Traffic.
Nate Gruber, Metro Window Economic Development Center.
Soccer Term Engineering.
All right, thank you everyone for coming out this morning.
In equal time, I guess, we move up to this. We like this.
I guess being a member of this task force helped scare away the opposition.
Steve, I think yours would have failed out. I'm not saying anything.
All right, moving on. Really, I don't have much of a chairman's report. The chairman's report is pretty much embedded in this agenda. At the last meeting, there was a suggestion, I think, by Randy June that we set up some subcommittees. And so there's some suggested subcommittees on the agenda. Later on the agenda, we'll be talking about those and maybe some scopes for each of those. So beyond that, I don't really have a chairman's report. The treasurer's report, Keith Jackson's not able to be here today, so he gave me the information. We had a beginning balance of $15,677.87. We had one payment for $480 to Montreal Planning for the first quarter of reporting secretary for us. So the ending balance is $15,197.87. Any questions on that? Okay, then we will move into, I've got two updates, one from Commissioner Boyd and one from Commissioner Parks. And Commissioner Boyd, I'll turn the mic over to you.
Thanks, Rick. We actually wanted to just kind of touch base on Concert 2, which was on the agenda, and give a little bit of an update on where we're at. In the dialogue that we've had here for probably, I don't know, it's been what, a year and a half we've been meeting. One of the key points for Concert 2 has been a potential connectivity out to Lake County over to Highway 27. And I'm going to let Commissioner Parks kind of give us an update on where Lake County and Claremont are with this, and any other dialogue I think would be pretty key. Just 2 weeks ago in my board meeting, I've been pushing for trying to get agriculture back out into the West Orange and Lake County community, and we had some great dialogue with the board. We're going to be moving forward probably within the next few months to discuss how, with the City of Orlando and Orange County working together, we can potentially have an all-ag rate for our water for reclaim. Currently, right now, it's 19 cents a thousand for citrus, and for all other ag commodities, it's around 49 cents a thousand. thought the meeting went very positive. Member of the board members seemed to be positive. Commissioner Russell, on another item, sent out a memo in regards to some of the growers' agreements from some time ago that were originally put together, and so that discussion will be coming up. But I wanted to kind of stay away from that because I really, truly wanted to try to bring more agriculture back. That's just that's another issue that I'll talk about another day because I could probably take up a good 30 minutes with that. City of Orlando is very supportive of this endeavor as well. City Manager Byron Brooks had a couple of discussions with him. I'm excited about Orlando's possibility of working with us on the county to bring kind of that farm to the table kind of atmosphere. City of Orlando really is trying to promote. We've got a lot of great opportunities out there for that, and so I feel pretty positive. We're looking at a pilot project that would probably more than likely take in Horizon West and the Concert 2 lands within the area out in Lake County as well. Kind of looking at this. I think there was some discussion with staff that through Lake County wide what the impacts might be on there, so I think that was probably a good thought. Restricted down to one area. Let's see if we get any activity. We've got a lot of infrastructure in the ground currently and some great opportunities maybe to lease a lot of the unused properties that we have for Concert 2. I believe we've got somewhere around, Chris, when you walk in? Yeah, what do we get? A little over 5,000 acres, I think, in total in concert lands out there, and about 10% of that are used for our rapid infiltration basin. So, there may be some good possibilities there. We might be able to utilize some of that space. And then with that, I would kind of turn it over, if I could, to Commissioner Parks here to kind of give us an update on where Lake County and Claremont are with Orange County as far as maybe some of these issues that we've got with reclaim and our road plan.
And also, Sean, if you could include an update on the second plan.
Good morning, everybody. Regards to the Concert 2 discussions, I remain very positive. We are getting very close, we, Lake County and the City of Claremont, on executing an interlocal agreement. And that essentially is to make sure that we've got our house in order, that we're working together on this issue. I expect that to be within the early part of August to be approved by the County Commission and the City of Claremont. From that point on, we'll continue our discussions with Orange County and move from there. So that's where we stand. Again, I remain absolutely positive that we'll continue to work something out. Everybody will walk away happy.
Is Orange County been prepared to move forward pretty rapidly once they get together? I mean, I know that's settling on Claremont and Lake County, but agreeing on it.
My understanding right now is I had received a letter from Alan Boiler, not directly to me, that was sent to staff to me. There are some, I think, some issues as far as right-of-way and park space that are being looked at for utility when we get that to Lakewood, Claremont. And so that's going to be a hang-up. Just in discussion with my staff and some with the City of Orlando, I think there's a great way we can work through some of the issues, but if we're looking at just on behalf of Orange County and the City of Orlando, that's just giving out land that our ratepayers are going to purchase, and that's going to be a difficult hurdle. And I'm not sure where the hang-up is. Our staff, I think, has attempted to meet over there on a couple of occasions, and I know there's been some issues that have hung that up. As long as we've been in discussion, we've been sitting in this room, I would have hoped to be a lot further along. I'll be honest with you.
I would hope that think both parties would think further ahead down the road, start planning to whatever it may be, given that it's off the tax rolls, sitting out there, how can we maximize the benefit to both as we start developing it forward?
Well, exactly, and that's, I still remain a little sense of any negativity. I think we're confident too that we move forward. We will. just from our perspective, I mean, there are thousands of acres that are off our tax rolls in Lake County. And we just want to make sure that, and I think Ray would say that Ray from the city of Claremont wants to make sure that, that is recognized a little bit. And let's just see what we can work on together. I really don't think that we're all that far up. I know that we don't expect something for nothing. And we respect the ratepayers that you have to report to, absolutely. We have to report to our constituents as well. So I believe once we get this interlocal agreement, it goes through, I think things will move on pretty good.
The interlocal agreement, Sean, will provide for what, can you say?
It's how we're going to handle this annexation, what Claremont's needs are for water, to the reclaim system, us working together, Claremont and County together.
So would the two of you think that if in fact you pass something in August, that you and your respective staffs, Sean and Scott, you and your respective staffs would then start sitting down in one room and putting the issues on the table, start addressing those and see the progress absolutely made?
Yeah, originally how all this really kind of came about was when I ended up meeting Scott one day, and he was sitting there. I think you were on planning and zoning at the time.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Long time ago. That's right, long time ago. But he explained to me the issue. Orange County was buying more land in Lake County and wanting to get the zoning and all your sites out there. And I think I could see where Lake County would look at Orange County buying up more land in their community for a lot of reclaim water we're producing in Orange County. I could see that. It's there once it explained to me. And that's when the dialogue went to, how can we work together and make it a win-win? So I think that brought us to where we are today, for the most part. Now I think we're hung up maybe on some other issues on that win-win. And I think we're all on the same page, trying to work together, but it's unfortunately, I think it's just stalled. It's been there for a while. And I think for us to get through it, we just need to hammer away at it. And I'm not going to put Chris on the spot, but I just want to let Chris kind of give his perspective, kind of where we're at, with our discussions, so everybody in the room has the opportunity to kind of understand where we're at. I think it's positive. We're definitely moving, but there are some areas there where we need to put the crowbar in, but we need to move on a little bit, find some improvement.
Well, Commissioner, I guess at one point we had, a tri-party agreement that we were working on between the two counties and the city. And now it's kind of a bilateral agreement. And so we're not at the table right now. We don't have an idea what's in the agreement between Claremont and Lake County. But I guess from an enterprise function of the utilities department, as you indicated, it's a project that's funded by the ratepayers of Orange County and the city of Orlando, and I think to some extent the utilities department is looking at other alternatives in terms of what they can do with their property under their current zoning and land use, and whether we're going to do somehow at on the downside of a negotiating table with the city of Claremont. Claremont is interested in new use water. We're interested in providing that, but we're not going to be held hostage to the negotiations between the city and Lake County. So for some reason we had a tri-party process going, and now it's between Claremont and Lake County, so I guess when that agreement's done, we'll come to the table. Obviously, we want to participate and be a player in what occurs out there, but the concert property has certain entitlements and certain needs, and at the time the property was purchased, it was a rural area, agricultural zone. So we understand things have changed, and utilities wants to be a player, but they have to protect their interests.
Now, let me point out something. We're talking about forest. Regarding the sector in the northern side is adjacent to the sector, 100 acres, pristine woods that are owned by Lake County Water District, bought 20 years ago. This is beautiful. It's a beautiful park. It'll be a lot of things. It's the trails through there, established 100 years or so, up to more recent times, and been through it itself. Now, there's a fence around it. It's not open to the public any longer. There in itself, Lake County's got a park right adjacent to the sector, but probably no one in this room even knows it's there. But it's pretty close to Claremont, not boundaries. And it's within maybe 1,000 feet of the Orange County line. It's in Lake County. I know Scott knows where it's at, but he's the only Scott that knows where it's at, I'm sure. So there in itself is a park that could be, take the gate down and make it available. You know where it's at, Sean?
I do, I've been there.
Okay, so there you are. The gate, in the fence, no one can access it, except Sean, I guess.
No, I'm not on that word.
And just a snapshot of something on the agriculture that Scott wants to pursue. In the 80s, the freezers hit, all the citrus was blacked out. Before that, it was just all citrus. Things are reinventing themselves. The new varieties are beginning to come out, different kinds of, like peaches and other things, blueberries. And now, of great interest to the small little farmers that take it to the local markets. There's a reinvention going on, and you'll see it build. So it'd be good if Orange County and Lake County kind of joined into this, and they got all the land sitting there and isolated out there they could use. And a lot of that land could be, fertility could be increased by taking a lot of the reclaimed solids that are in the city, bring it out there. We're in fact, we have thousands of tons down in Lee County where they take the bio waste sewage plants and they add it to the chewed up rubbish in the cities and compost it as a compost. Thousands of tons of this stuff down there, very reasonable. It's actually working out very well. There's a lot of science behind that now. They realize how well this works. We could dispose of some of that maybe in that area, which would increase the fertility of these little local farmers around. There's all kinds of things that can happen.
Well, let me give you an update on the sector plan, but just again, I just want to say, I think many of you know that I appreciate work towards a cooperative spirit here. So from the Lake County side of things, just my last comment about the concept too. Again, we have to, we have to be careful about and watch out for our constituents as well. There's some property there that is off our tax rolls, and I know as an elected official, just trying to make sure that I'm doing my job to represent them as well. I really, honestly, do believe that we're going to get through this just fine over the next several months. I'm confident about it. So, that being said, the sector plan, at the last commission meeting, Lake County, we approved the development agreement. That is now been approved. We also approved the RFP for the sector planning process. We will have a pre-bid meeting as soon as possible. I want that to be in a matter of days, not weeks. It probably will be a few weeks before that meeting is scheduled. Pre-bid meeting for anybody that's interested in submitting on that RFP. We will have that as soon as possible and get the sector planning process underway at that point. So look for that to come out very soon. There's probably some people that are interested as to when that date will be. It's not been scheduled yet. Again, pre-bid meeting though will be coming up as soon as possible. I'm going to ask the Deputy County Manager to schedule that. Hopefully I get an answer on that today. So, very warmly received, good comments from the County Commission. Just speaking in general here, I think we're excited about moving forward with this.
Thank you. I think that's a major step for Lake County, this committee, property owners, and board members who follow conduct on that issue as well. So I think that's a great step forward. Just to kind of segue into the next discussion, just listening to what everybody was saying, the vision principles of this group, there were 5 of them: economic development, connectivity, environment, intergovernmental cooperation, and flexibility in funding. And I think that those 5 principles really can govern the conversation that we're having. I mean, all of those, you talk about economic development, I mean, everybody's looking, both counties are looking for tax revenue and economic development, as well as the property owners. Connectivity, we have this discussion about connecting the 2 economies, and tied up in this whole Concert 2 discussion, there's a road in there somewhere that is part of the discussion that didn't come out in this conversation, but it's there. The environment, we're talking about recycling, we're talking about ribs, we're talking about agriculture. I mean, there's a huge element in all of this for the environment. And obviously, intergovernmental cooperation is going to be key to making this work. And so I think we all need to keep that 5th vision there, flexibility and funding in mind as we move forward. So what came out of the last meeting, and I think it's becoming obvious, is we've had certain little pockets to work on. And obviously this Concert 2 and the road issue is one. Scott Boyd, the developer, noted that he needs to leave a little early, so I think he wanted to make some comments on that one issue, which we're going to talk about as a potential subcommittee in a minute.
Good morning. I just want to let everybody know that, some of you may know this, but we've been working with Orange County to start a couple miles of roads, and with the Commissioner's help and his senior staff, we've worked through most all of the issues now, and in fact, last week or the week before, but dedicated all the right-of-way necessary to build the nearly 2 miles of roads, and about 30 acres of land dedicated to Orange County for that work to be done. And we were notified actually yesterday, the day before, that the road plans for the new Independence, which is the east-west road, have been approved. And the north-south road, which a project was called Hamlin, so the road we're calling it Hamlin Trail, the north-south road, we've been notified that we should have that permit Friday. And so we would anticipate, we have the funding for the approximate $15 million for the utilities and roadways. We would anticipate that construction of the road would commence within the month. And so I would anticipate each of you getting an announcement for the groundbreaking, and Sean will be sure that you're part of that. And that's just, I think, a critical thing for West Orange County and South Lake County to make those connections that we're having a small hand in, and that you gentlemen are talking about doing. I think it has such a regional impact when you guys are contemplating, and it's going to be huge for the whole sector. And so we appreciate all the work you guys are doing, and I just wanted to report in that we've made some progress and are excited about moving forward and creating some of that tax base that Rick's talking about, and hopefully bring some of that commercial activity to West Orange County.
Yeah, and let me just point out one thing too. Staff has been fantastic. John done a great job since you've come on, since the mayor hired you on, a year ago, a little over a year ago. And it is very exciting to think that 4 years ago, not even 4 years ago, that place was sitting out there with AIG at the steering wheel, and nothing happened. And here we are a few years later, punch a couple of holes into some congestion that we have out on the west side of town. A lot of my residents that live not even within the Horizon West area, just down on 535, are excited. So I think this is going to be a great event, great groundbreaking, definitely. And I'm looking forward to having everybody out for that. That's a lot of hard work on everybody's part to make that happen. Oh, the Mayor Brune wanted me to expand on the location for those of you that may not be familiar with the site that Scott was talking about. This is where the Daniels and 535 interchange on the 429 is. If you continue south, probably about another couple of miles, you run into the interchange of New Independence Parkway. Right now, at New Independence Parkway, when you get off that ramp, you can only get on the 545. And the segment of road that Scott's discussing is the piece that's missing that would head east to connect with the community of Independence. You also have a couple of plans that are moving through the county right now that will connect Summerport within probably the next couple of years to Tiny Road, which will then have all of those communities having access to this one interchange, which then will alleviate a lot of the traffic on 535. But just, I think, with a lot of discussion, a lot of kind of the synergy going around this room, and a lot of what's been going on over the last year or so, just even knowing that these sort of things are happening has created, I think, a lot of excitement. You're seeing the growth in a lot of the residential communities. I think we've, Chris, probably got, what, 1,200 units of apartments in some form or fashion fixing to break ground. I know Angel, we're going to be working for a groundbreaking on the first workforce housing project right next to the back entrance of Disney. I think we're about 700 units on that. Just today we were discussing Link 111, which is a Link's bus route that connects from Orlando International Airport right there within walking distance of that community alone. And I have to say we probably have a dozen residential single-family units that are going to be, at least community developments that are going to be coming up out of the ground. So there's a lot of things happening. It's kind of like ground zero out here. So that's just going to be an important piece of that.
I just wanted to ask one question, and I think that Scott will be involved in the ownership of properties in southwest Orange and southeast Lake. It's similar ownership across the line. You know, owners in Horizon West own property in South Lake. When the governmental bodies get together, Orange County, Lake County, Claremont, I think the landowners would like to at least somehow understand what's going on there and be somewhat of a part of that process, because the end result is what's going to make this whole area. And this whole area is going to be one, like it used to be with all cities. In the future, it's going to be one development area that's going to be dependent on one another. So I would like to make sure that we can somehow at least be kept up to speed. If we can be in the process somehow, it would be really important to do that.
Yeah, let me add something to that. Just said this before, you're saying it. You got two government agencies, you got two cities, Claremont and Winter Garden. You've all got utilities, you've all got et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and there's got to be some way where they can maybe cross boundaries somewhat to help each other out, supply things. So this makes economic sense. Maybe at some point then they got to have their own whatever utilities would be that they would build in. There's just all this, even maybe possibly schools. So you've got a lot of things that happen, and yet I used to refer to it sometimes like the boundary between Mongolia and Russia. Then just go disconnect in the past, maybe now you're beginning to connect things together.
And I will say real quickly too, John and I do connect on a number of occasions, and so we do have a great working relationship. So one of the reasons for me bringing this up is hopefully to try to open the door to get things moving again. So it always seems to work better that way. And I deal with a lot of things on my end with Orange County and some of the cities I represent too, and Sean does as well. And I don't know, the politics in his community is different than mine, and so with that, I hopefully understand where he's coming from. So that's it. So let's move on and let's be productive today.
Okay, well, that does segue very well into the potential subcommittee, because I think what this committee initially was charged to do was to get this conversation going, and then come to some sort of, hopefully, agreement. And not just on this issue, but on a number of issues. So that was the whole idea of the subcommittee. And let's just jump, since we're on concert two, let's jump to item C, which would be a subcommittee to work on this particular item. And given that we've got government working together and issues on, I'm sure there's strategy issues, there's sunshine issues, there's a lot of issues. How could this potential committee come to the table and assist? I mean, we have I've talked to a few people that are willing to serve on the committee. I did talk to Commissioner Boyd about this. I know Randy June's been very interested in this issue and is willing to do work. And Jim Hitt has some maps as well. That there's 3 or 4 roadway alignments out floating around out there too. So if there's a way that a committee can help in this, I think we'd like to be involved in what I'm hearing others on the committee. So.
I think the Southwood Chamber obviously has been involved and would like to offer our representation on that as well.
Does this committee make sense to have co-chairs of county commissioners and then gather some support from this group?
Makes sense. That way the coordination. It's very important to get the property owners involved with it also. I'm just listening to everybody that's been talking. I think if we can meet in this group, with you two, of course. Jim, I don't know if you're interested, I could be with John, Randy, myself. That's what I was listening to right there. I don't know if that was on head or what did you?
Yeah, I could represent the Southwood Chamber.
And if anybody else is interested, obviously. So like you mentioned, there's been a few different maps going out. I had been looking at what the expressway authority put together a few years ago in terms of support for the roadway corridor. And so I was playing around with the map and trying to figure out what the map is. So like, I kind of said, I think that YouTube and everything, I was hoping it would get out there because the main thing I wanted to do is create that dialogue so we could look at the different corridors and also use the report that the expressway authority, basically to support their corridor. Because if we don't have that support, we might not get that money. So I'm trying to utilize what's already been out there, saying where that should go. But then I definitely want to make sure that we get those connector roads for any potential property owners to tie into that. And it's just, the whole idea is let's wave this thing around and see where we can get different versions of the different corridors and different connectors going up. Main thing is, I like the idea. Let's get the dialogue going so we can get it back on track so that we have a location and we can satisfy at least as much as possible.
Right, and I think it's important to have that corridor now as the sector plan moves forward. It becomes part of sector. And so this one needs to get going right away. And then hopefully we can also do that.
Let me bring something else from listening to you. This has to do with the sector plan area up in the northern area. As you know, the Winter Gardens is moving toward putting 2 roundabouts, and that'll be going forward. I'm sure of that. And there's a tremendous gap from Lake Hancock all the way over to the county line, but that's going to be a lot more friction involved. And so how y'all doing on how putting on Lake County doing on the north-south connection? And that would loop then into the Independence Parkway area that we're talking about, being talked about as a kind of roundabout bypass, enabling people to get to the jobs elsewhere instead of going down a single-lane road.
That was one of the questions we brought up, I think, 2, maybe 3 meetings ago, was that north-south connection.
I'll always bring it up.
Oh, yeah. Well, Hancock Road is one of those that we need to connect in with the east-west connection, or development place. The other one, of course, is Harville Road. There's the northern part going up to 455 and 50 is there, but that southern connection is going to go from there. The only problem with that is where it comes out on the Harvard Marsh Road. There's too much development, even though they want a 2 to 5 acre tract directly south of that. So what we need to do is probably tie that north-south connector road going down along the way a little bit farther to the east, almost to where the county line is. And that's where I've drawn this on this map. And again, this is one of those things that I just put something in for the draft that, for discussion purposes, to get that other secondary north-south connector road. And then, of course, Avalon is there, of course, 429. There's not a whole lot of area
Okay, well, two commissioners agreed to work together on this subcommittee and then perhaps if you guys can help maybe pull them into the conversation.
Yeah, oh yeah, always.
Scott,
I just want to make a comment. Part of the scope of work in the sector plan is going to be to study the transportation corridors. As the committee gets together, and once the RFP's out on the street and it gets awarded to somebody, you make sure you want to integrate in that. That is part of the ask, for the sector plan consultant. Right? I mean, I'm sure they'd like to pre-advance all that work you're doing in advance of that, but I just want to make sure you knew that that was part of the sector plan.
That was the whole idea.
Hey, Chris, with the corridor really kind of flowing in from 27 to the 429, the expressway authority, I don't know what their interest is, but if there's any, probably good to have a dialogue with them, in the event that, because I don't know what kind of revenues are coming over for the expressway authority, but it'd be the shortest point to Lake County, and maybe not county revenue a lot.
It's a very good point.
So, that would be good, if you could somehow find that out. I talked to them before.
And they, discussions I've had in the past, without land use on the Lake County side, where it was limited, sector plan adopted as different land uses seem to be. So I think we're definitely a player.
I think it's put it a mile instead of really, mile, kind of like the zone on the east side, if there's an influence, I think within a mile, where it can fund a road project, even if it's not total, but if it benefits the expressway, I put in the back in independent, independent living, and they provide funding. Expressway, obviously, ridership.
Or the mass of people moving to Orlando, out in the Disney area, South Claremont area, like paying tolls.
Yeah, granted, the new Independence Parkway project, OCA wasn't contributed to that one, developer stuff like it.
Okay, so I think I heard, co-chairs with our two commissioners. And I have Randy, Jim, and John. Okay. Okay. Great. Let's jump to D because it kind of ties into what was just said. Let's take D. I actually had a volunteer for D. D was actually set up initially, and I talked to Representative Freeport about setting up a funding or a group to help assist with the funding request for the upcoming state legislature. You're already. You're already.
You got the money, you got her.
Steve asked that we expand it to include all government agencies or any other funding partners out there. So I actually reached out to our vice chair, Keith Jackson, on that one. He's got a pretty strong relationship with the Expressway Authority, who I think could be a funding partner, and he volunteered to kind of take the lead if the committee's good with that, or Steve would be involved with that, and anybody else that wanted to join in.
We'd at least like our phone numbers.
What's that?
We'd like our phone numbers at least so we can talk to them.
Who's that?
All the guys on that committee.
It's not me.
Okay, we will open up for discussion, but I'd like to get through just the four committees to get a framework. There's only two left, and I think they're pretty quick. One, A, is the incubator study that last year was our funding request to the state. UCF has shown an interest in trying to continue to work on doing an incubator study. I've had a couple of conversations with Dr. O'Neill, and we've got some ideas around, so I would like to continue working on that with him and anybody else who'd like to join in. Perfect. So as of now, it's me, Steve, and Scott. And then the last one, B, is the sector plan, monitoring the sector plan and reporting back, so we don't have to put it on Commissioner Park every time. I did, or if you'd like to have that one as well, you're welcome, but I did get a volunteer, Jim Carr, who was pretty involved already. And,
Okay, that's fine. That's John. That's John. Somebody else?
Yeah, I'd volunteer.
okay, Murray?
I'm part of this week at another location to stay up on the old projects and stuff. I'm home, unfortunately, I'm sorry.
Harold? Harold, that'd be great. Okay, so I think the goal for these committees would be to meet at least once, if not more, prior to our next meeting, and be able to bring a report back. And we'll have agenda items for reports for each of the subcommittees on respond.
You have to be the volunteer here.
Okay? Thank you, Jim. Myra, have you got knowledge? Thank you. Incubator study, then I think would be myself, Steve Freeport, Scott Blankenship. I'm looking around the board. Okay, we'd like to open it up to the audience if anybody has any comments, questions, input on what's occurred today.
One more thing. I talked about it, but I'll put on my teaching board. I had mentioned this to a few board members in regards to a corridor study that FDOT did in Claremont for Taylor 50. And this is a summary thing, but basically FDOT came in and did a multimodal corridor study. The actual document's about an inch thick, good leading material, but also has a lot of good information. And one of the things that Steve mentioned in regards to getting the support in regards to funding for this is to have a buy-in, I guess you'd say, from the different state agencies. The Expressway Authority was one that I mentioned earlier, and one of the things I'd like to cross out is to see whether or not we could get FDOT to do a multimodal corridor study once we get the general alignment for this done for land use. They did a pretty good job, and it cost DOT, I believe, it was about $250,000 to do this one. And if we could get DOT to do something like this as I guess you say, a buy-in for the support for this corridor, it might go a long way in regards to the funding mechanism. Just an idea.
What do you think we need to do to get to that point? Do we have to have corridors?
I think they need to have something semi-identified. What they do, they target the area, and then they, I guess they build the land uses around that corridor, and then the feeder system is going to it. And it might be like I mentioned, a good way to help lend support for this corridor on its way, and in the different property owners around the area. Just an idea, again, it's trying to build that connection picture.
Also, I know Mike had a meeting Monday, and from a federal standpoint, you got to connect there, if there's any type of federal dollars that we should be trying to look at. So, have an incubator, have a corridor, have some good ones, have kind of a total package deal, maybe at the end of stuff, but federal dollars out there too.
Is it something we need to present to the MPO?
I actually had talked to the MPO about this also, and TJ is pretty much in line with recommending that it's in the quarter of the law. So it's just a matter of, do we want to do that as a information they even need from us, other than, once we get the roadway, I think it's just a request from ourselves, and I believe the MPO to put it on their, newsletter also.
And this would cross MPO boundaries.
Yes.
We might need a presentation to Metro.
Yes.
Good idea.
I'll talk to the CBA and see if they have on our list for the like MPO and also for the Metro.
I'll work with you on seeing if we can do something with Metro. Steve, do you have any comments on how requests the DOT might get moved forward or how to get started?
Thanks. Specifically to that, I think our best option would be to sit down with the district secretary initially, just to plant the seed, get the idea going, so she's not blindsided by it, going forward. As an initial step. A lot of the other stuff will grow out of that. And just for everyone's information, a lot of these things are going on, conversations between commissioners very informally with us, trying to figure out, okay, what are our next steps? How do we proceed with some of these other initiatives that we had? Good thing is that the legislature wasn't in session the last couple of months, so the bad thing is it's hard, unless you're in session, it's hard to actually get a lot of specific stuff done. So we have some time for next March as far as the things that I'll be responsible for pushing at the Tallahassee level. But again, we've been kicking around a number of ideas for slightly different directions to what we've done before with the funding request for the incubator and the road, and some of the changes involved with the sector plan for some special economic development areas that either allow special tax treatment or incentives to be used in this area. So we've got a big bushel of stuff right now. We'll narrow it down to a couple of priorities over the course of the next 6 months and move forward at the consensus of this group.
There's something else to it, financial funding committee. Maybe kind of woke me up a little.
Whenever he said federal, Representative Michael's a good friend of mine, and I would like to be able to work with me and do what I can to get involved in this work.
Good. All right, we have actually got a number of items to work on in the next couple months. Each of the subcommittees will get together and start working. We're going to work with the 2 MPOs. Maybe sit down and meet with Secretary Downs at 5. Is there something else on this? And Metro Plan, choose the 2 MPOs. And Commissioner Boyd and I will work on the Metro Plan side, and Jim and Commissioner Parks will work on the other side. And we get these things on the radar. Chris?
Let me just add, I worked in the second plan, but the primary one thing is the language that we come up with. Probably one way to have the FAC part of that process, because we're going to lay out the language to come up with the words that we do in addition to that. So that's just something to think about. And John worked on the work session. So John
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that getting at least the study on the radar, maybe as the sector plan continues, then the need for it and the scope of it make it more defined. Any other final comments? You've already been elected.
You would think you were elected the way you were holding on. No, I just wanted to make a recommendation. Commissioner Oshesky, it's probably good to have someone like Commissioner on the board as well. The city of Winter Garden really doesn't have any
city of Winter Garden has a seat, one has one, it'd be good to have, because Winter Garden's got a big stake in this, because.
All right, well, I'll move to have Bobby Oshesky fill the one
Second.
All those in favor?
Just go, Bob. I just hand over the microphone, I hand it over to Alan. Okay, I'm not even sure we need to vote, but welcome to the board. Yeah, there was an open seat for Winter Garden, and we're glad to have it filled. And we'll look forward to their participation. And again, we do thank Winter Garden for the use of these facilities. It's very hospitable of you guys to get it open and set up the equipment for us when we need it, especially when season session. So,
We're still gonna start charging.
I did hear.
Move on board. Are you gonna supply coffee then?
I did hear the part of coffee. I have to pass the hat around for getting coffee.
Is there any opposition or any reason not to have anybody out there has some interest in it? And one of our subcommittees to add some flavor to it, we'd be excited to have them.
That's true. I mean, the bylaws basically say anybody who shows up is a member of this organization, and then we have a board. So, if anybody's interested in getting involved, send me or Myra an email through the website, and or just volunteer right now.
When you talk about just our subcommittees.
Yeah.
You could stand up now.
All right, we'll let you think about it, and we'll expect some phone calls or emails. And with that, I believe we are adjourned.
Well, now you guys have a seat on the board.